Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? Aye, you'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this your podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, the show where we like to find the best game within a really specific category. For example, this week we're looking for the best game that could have been an email. Like all the worst meetings, a lot of games are overlong, full of information that you don't actually need, and in some cases just deliver their narratives or stories, etc., in ways that are so lacking in interaction that they might as well not be video games at all. Let's explore that. We've got Sherif Saeed with us, we've got Tom Ori, and we've got Connor Macker. I never know if I'm pronouncing your name properly.
It's Marker, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
Oh my god, I was just going to ask that the other day when I heard you. I was like,
I thought it was Macker because of Macca Packer.
It's Marker because it's a shortened Armenian name.
I thought you told me once. Pronounce it like Macca Packer.
I said that when I was in primary school. I shouldn't say this on the internet. Oh, fuck, whatever. At primary school, they couldn't pronounce my surname right, or they wouldn't. They called me Connor Macker, not Connor Marker. And so I was bullied and called, not bullied is strong. I was teased and called Macca Packer by some people. Yeah. At which point, my lovely workplace made a custom Slack emoji of Macca Packer.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Well, did they give you lots of stones?
Just to be clear, that was Bill Cliff, not your entire workplace.
It was my entire workplace. They all got together.
I actually think I made that.
Oh yeah, this is my boss. Yeah. So Marker.
We're all complicit.
Yeah. But you do seem like the sort of bloke who would go around watching people's faces with a dry sponge.
What? Have you not seen In the Night Garden?
Have you not seen In the Night Garden?
No, I'm a 26-year-old man.
Hello,
what the fuck are we on about?
I'm pretty sure it was probably a thing when you were a baby.
It probably was, right? Like In the Night Garden.
No, it would have come out when he was like 13, but that's that's young enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
What?
So Macca Packer cuts about the Night Garden with an ogpog, which is like a little bike thing that
Jim, we have work to do.
That he carries his sponge
and he gets his stones,
and
right?
a soap, yeah.
Right.
He polishes the stones.
He polishes the stones,
but he also washes everyone's faces.
He goes around the Night Gardens. On this podcast.
Yeah, the various Night Garden characters.
Wait, he washes people's faces.
He washes everyone's face. He goes
like consensually.
You are sorry?
Like consensually, he doesn't just walk up and sneak up on them and do it, right?
I mean, he kind of just does it, but everyone's okay with it.
It's not like the Tangoed advert where he goes on slapping people. It's like a friendly thing. It's like just promoting like being gentle and kind to people.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, wash your face," and the Tomley Boos are like, "All right, bit weird."
British TV is like shit, isn't it? Like
Kids. Anyway, so 2-minute tangent on Night Garden. Sherif's probably the most confused right now. So this is the best game that could have been an email, and I feel like you're the sort of guy who, out of all of us at VG247, I feel like you're the sort of person who is always annoyed about overlong meetings and the concept of like, if you could tell me this in a more succinct way, please do it that way. So. Because you seem like a generally sort of miffed person just all the time. So I would like to start with you. What is your
That
best...
is not very nice.
Well,
that's kind of a horrible thing to say to someone.
No, it's not. It's just
Well, you're so miffed, Sherif.
Yeah, Jim, you're always kind of like pissed off for some reason. Like, what's the...
No, I just feel like...
Stop being so miffed about everything.
I just feel like... It's not a criticism. I just feel like Sherif is always just on the edge of kicking off.
Yeah, just cheer up.
Like underneath that zen exterior is like a raging sort of like torrent of like he's always like he's like Newcastle. He's always about to kick off. So you've got the floor, Sherif. What is the best game that could have been an email?
Yeah, so I was looking into kind of digging through my mind and I think the first thing that I thought of, which is also my pick, is a game that, specifically the narrative, the story element of it, is so truncated and runs out of steam very quickly that you'd wonder why it was even there in the first place.
It's not a Rockstar game, is it? He's using this once again to have a go at Rockstar.
It is not a Rockstar game because Rockstar games have the opposite of that, in that they have too much narrative. My pick is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Okay.
Because that game is pretty much... What if we made an open world Metal Gear stealth action game and tried to somehow coerce Hideo Kojima into inserting some Metal Gear stuff in it just so that it can fit within the canon? And so the first 2 or 3 hours of that game, just a normal Metal Gear, pretty linear, stuff, mysterious things are happening, you don't know who anybody is, some callbacks to past games that you might be familiar with if you played them. And then they throw you out in the open world, and then just Metal Gear just stops. You just Snake in the open world, trying to Fulton people, trying to sneak and trank dart them and everything. And every 6-ish hours or so, the game remembers, oh yes, this is a Metal Gear game, and then you have a little bit of a thing, which is like often the thing that happens in meetings because people have fairly short attention spans. In that there's an intense focus on one thing, and then it just relaxes, and then people go off on tangents, and you're looking behind you at the cat, maybe about to flip a plate off a table or whatever, and then everyone is like thinking, oh my God, I still have a thing at 11 that I need to get to. And then there's an intense focus again. Maybe you're asked to speak, and then it just relaxes. And you're thinking, my whole contribution to this was maybe 6%, maybe 10%. That could have been an email. And I feel like this was the Phantom Pain for me, where it's like every time, it's almost like every time the game asks of Kojima to step in and be like, hey, do your thing. He's like, here's some stuff. I don't know. The metallic archaea. What's that? I don't know. I made it up last week, and then we'll have to do. There's an infamous scene, which is you and the main villain, you being Snake, and the main villain riding in the back of a car. Mm-hmm. And by any metric, like if you show this to anyone, this is a conversation. This is a confrontation. There's something interesting happening in this car ride. It is completely, entirely silent. And it starts off silent, and then the game almost realizes this is not gonna, so they play music over it. And so you're sitting face to face with this antagonist that's been built up over like the last 15 hours, and nothing is happening. Absolutely nothing is happening, and then the game just plays music, and then the car ride ends. And you're like, what's the point of that? Like, this wasn't some sort of like a scene in a movie. This was just it's a single shot, single fixed angle camera shot of two dudes in the back of a car, and then that's it. And you realize, like, you look at the cut content of that game and you look at like the troubled history of development, and pretty much everything in it had to be either removed or goes off on these weird tangents of like the metallic archaea stuff, and then the child soldier stuff with baby liquid, all that stuff. Pretty much none of it amounts to anything, and then the things that matter happen at the very start and at the very end, to essentially for that game to find a place within the canon of like, oh, this is actually what happened, and this is how Snake became all that stuff in that game. And I just, like, to me, it's like one of those games where it's like, it's pretty common knowledge that Hideo Kojima was pretty much done with Metal Gear and had been for a while. And for this game to continue that felt like he's just so tired, and he's just like, just whatever, man. Here's a couple ideas that I had leftovers. It almost feels like they brought someone in to fill in the gaps. It's like, we're gonna have someone just like Otacon, but it's not really Otacon. They're gonna have but it's not. And he's in love with a robot for some reason. It's like a bunch of stuff that happens in that game that's like fairly inconsequential, but also.
Yeah. Do you think Guns of the Patriots is like should be the last one, really? I've heard a few people say that the MGS4 should really be the
I think MGS3 should probably be the last one, to be honest. Like,
I think
MGS4 has a bit of finality about it, though, doesn't it?
It has a lot of finality behind it.
Yeah.
But I think it's
finalities.
too...
Yeah.
Like, MGS4 is so... Like, in a perfect world, I don't think it would exist. I think that series would end with Sneaky. Like, you do the stories in the modern day, and then you do the prequel because, how did it happen? Who's the boss? Whatever. And then that series would just die. But 4 is so self-indulgent that it is the purest level of schlock. It is like, so for it not to exist, I feel like it would be a betrayal to like George Corman and any of the legends of like schlocky low budget movie where that game, but it's so serious about everything that it does that it somehow makes it worse / better.
It's got a great soundtrack though. I feel like it's redeemed entirely by like, you know, those moments in it where you're in a shopper and you're just gunning people down to Kids in America.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the joke. It's like that's the joke that the entire series has been building to, I guess. I love it.
There are moments of that game that in context and out of context are almost unmatched in the series. As crazy as Metal Gear, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the moment of like people like you were fighting Liquid Ocelot and both of you almost tapped out completely, but then you inject each other with serum so that you can continue, and then you can see the life bars on the screen just being regenerated so that you continue a fight.
That's
which is, by the way, happening on top of a submarine.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
funny. That's like
it is. It is pure schlock. It is pure schlock.
That's not just funny. That's awesome.
Yeah,
frankly.
people say video games don't do comedy, man. Fucking Metal Gear Solid does comedy, right? So good.
And then Big Boss shows up at the end to kill Zero. It's a whole maybe in a perfect world, but MGS5 The Phantom Pain, just like everything about it is just tired. Except for the gameplay. Like they had a really cool prototype and a really cool bunch of systems that they made, and then you're like, we can't just call this, sneaky action stealth man. We needed something interesting, and it's like it's the Phantom. It's the prequel to the Phantom Pain of Snake. He's got a skull, he's got an enemy, whatever. Just do it, and then everything is just like and it's pretty telling that it was the last one they made.
I love that. I think that's such a good pick.
Is it though? Is it a good pick?
It is. All right. Okay.
Well,
you've just heard the dismissive, derisory sort of tones of Tom Ori there, who is ready to go. I think that's what the signal is. So, Tom, we'll make Connor go last again. What is your game that could have been an email?
Right. So, when you think about should have been an email, right? That's usually meeting that is incredibly boring, very little going on.
Yeah.
You'd like, I don't want to be here. Got other things I could be doing. And that's what I was thinking about. What games represent that the best? And I thought of one. I thought, I'm pretty sure Jim loves this game. Pretty sure you're going to be angry about this choice. I don't care, right? So my pick is Lake, right? You played Lake,
I do like
Jim?
that game, yeah.
You do like it, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
And I apologise to anyone that likes this game. I appreciate there are people that like this kind of stuff. You deliver mail. That's it, right? You go around in your van delivering mail. And when this was getting a bit of hype around, like some indie games have a bit of hype around them, right? This is one of those games that was in a couple of like showcasey type things, and it looked interesting, I guess, in that kind of like indie, you don't really do much kind of way. I gave it a go. It was on Game Pass at launch, I think, and I just don't get it. You just go around delivering mail. There's a bit of like narrative going alongside it. And I'm just thinking, like, if we were to have this as an email, it would literally be, dear mail manager, I delivered the mail. I'm fairly okay, sad, happy. Bye. That's it. Yeah. That's the email. That's it. As a game, And like I said, I know people like this game. I've seen people talking about how they like it. So great for you. I'm happy that you like it. I didn't. I found it very dull. And it sums up everything about meetings that shouldn't exist, that they could just be an email, and that is this game.
It's interesting that it's set at a time before email was a mass.
Should have been a letter. Should have been a letter.
Should have been a handwritten letter.
Did you intentionally pick a game about delivering mail to say that a substitute for that would be an electronic version of that, which is email?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it, but
Okay.
as you've all pointed out quite blatantly, let's just go. Let's say, it was meant to be more subtext that you weren't meant to just
love
point
moments
out.
like this where Tom was like, well, that was supposed to be subtext, but you've just made it text now, so you've ruined it.
Well, that's what emails are about, right? That's what the whole point of the podcast question, right? Is putting things clearly and easily to understand in an email.
I don't agree, Tom. I think that game is, I think it's wonderful. And the point of that game isn't delivering the mail. The point of the game is the relationships that you have as that
I
character.
don't care about those.
That game is more about the romance options than it is about the actual delivering mail.
I don't need romance options. I just wanted more exciting mail deliveries.
Yeah,
I wanted
there's a
crazy.
whole
crazy
story arc
taxi,
with a cat.
Crazy taxi,
Yeah,
but for the postal service.
there's a whole
That's actually. I
subplot
think
about
it's
a cat.
happening. I think there is a game coming out where you're a bike delivery
Yeah,
person,
there
right?
is. Yeah,
Is it from Sumo maybe?
yeah.
And
Looks great.
that looks more like this. So I'm sorry if you didn't like Lake for the reasons I didn't. Maybe check that one out. I've forgotten what it's called. It's not a good advert for it, but it exists. Google it.
Bike beef bandits. I don't know. Okay, so Tom, you picked a game that I like, which is which could work in your favor, but you've essentially said it's a lot of shite, which isn't going to work in your favor. So
Yeah, but you love it, so
you're-
it has
you're
to win,
hedging-
then, doesn't it? It
you're
has to
hedging
win.
some- you're hedging a lot of bets here. I don't just pick things I like, Tom. Right? I picked fucking like I have no mouth, but I must scream last week because Mark made a really good pitch for it, and I happen to think that it's kind of a lot of fucking Harlan Ellison nonsense, of which you wrote a lot. Connor, what is your game that could have been an email? Don't say
For
this
me-
podcast.
For me, meetings are like the worst when like nothing actually happens due to like technical issues or delays. Someone doesn't really like their mic's been muted. I'm guilty of that. Or their camera doesn't work, or their Wi-Fi is lagging, or someone turns up 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. I think like
Am I being
the game experience. But there's still there's still stuff to talk about, like important, useful, interesting stuff to talk about, right? So for me, the game that sort of fits that the best is The Witcher 1. People love The Witcher as a series, right? The story and the narrative is great. People love the characters and they want to know what's happening. But going back to play The Witcher 1 is like clawing your eyes out. It's the worst. It's just clunky. It's got that Eurojank feel to it. It's not really as polished as later games, but there's still, there's source there. There's stuff that you want to experience if you're a Witcher fan. And I just frankly think that maybe Googling what's going on in that game or having it sent to you in a handy email in a nicely, easily to digest sort of list of important things that happen in it. And
Did I imagine that they're remaking this, or are they actually remaking it?
I think they are remaking it. Yeah.
There's been several attempts to remake it, hasn't it? One time they were going to remake it for consoles, and they literally run out of money. But I think there is actually a proper remake happening, like a
They are
ground
remaking
up.
it because the original is wank.
It's shite, isn't it? It's fucking
So,
terrible. Yeah.
but the story is still based on the books. It's still there's still good stuff there. It's just buried in a shit game.
Yeah.
So I feel like taking the game out of it and having it emailed to you in a nice, succinct succinct method, I don't know, is good. You should do that. Don't play The Witcher 1.
Essentially,
That's my pitch.
yeah. So essentially, what you're saying is like go and read the wiki.
Yeah, go and read the
and
wiki.
that's-
Well, no, you should get it emailed to you because that's the podcast
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Is
But
there not
if
an
you
argument that
can't,
you could just read the book though?
it's not
And
based on
therefore-
a book.
It's
though.
not based on any book.
It's not a direct.
it's not
It's not a direct adaptation of a book. It's like
Inspired
it's like
by.
a sequel to the last Witcher book.
Yeah, so you can't just go read a book. You need to have ideally someone email you the plot, or you could wiki it.
I find a lot of this is true of the Witcher, the whole Witcher kind of phenomenon generally. I feel like The Witcher 3 is a really good game despite itself, and I feel like a lot of the lore and supporting narrative and all the kind of Witcher universe stuff that happens up to The Witcher 3 is there's so much of it, and a lot of it is I kind of feel like a lot of people would be angry with me for saying this, right? But I feel like the Witcher TV show fills in a lot of the blanks from the last Wish, right? It's clearly a different take on things because certain people are dead by the end of season 1 of The Witcher who are still alive in Witcher 3 and things like that. But for filling in the broad strokes, right? I feel like the TV show is a fairly good grounding, and then you can go and play The Witcher 3 and you know kind of what the world state is. But the first 2 Witcher games, I'm sorry, I even think the second Witcher game is
No,
shit.
come
It's
on, no,
dreadful.
you turned my pick against me. You're wrong.
No, it's dreadful. It's dreadful.
Witcher 2's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to agree
Plus,
with you.
you can
Connor.
play 3 without knowing anything. I played 3.
You can. I
I
think
didn't
they
know
made
any
it
of the lore,
intentionally,
and it was fine.
But there are cool little hints and little references, and it's a more fulfilling and nice experience if you know what's going on.
I mean, did you? If you don't know anything about The Witcher and you play The Witcher 3, how do you have any sort of? You don't have any context about Ciri's relationship with the Emperor and stuff. It's all.
Yeah.
Surely you're just kind of
Figured it out.
just vibes. Okay. Anyway, right. So I agree with you quite a lot there, Connor. Even though you're shouting.
I feel like though, email isn't best, right? A wiki, as he pointed out, would be better. So is it just an email with a link to the wiki? In which case, is it really an email?
Because these games are so full of stuff, like side stories that are cool at the time, but perhaps not too important to the wider narrative. Sometimes an email, like a curated list of important things. It's like if you're in a meeting, right? I could say that me and Jim talking about what we had for dinner was nice. There was merit to that conversation. But in the recap of the meeting, we don't have to write Jim ate fish and chips and he didn't like the chips, but he thought the fish was pretty good.
What? I'm lost there. Right. I haven't had fish and chips for a week. And actually, the last time I had fish and chips.
You're filming in like
a whole week.
Delicious. Wow.
The last time I had fish and chips, it was in Cornwall, and it was 40 fucking quid for 2 portions of fish and chips.
So what fucking bougie fish and chips did you go to?
It was just a wee chippy van.
You went to a chippy van
in Charleston, right? No, but this was
chippy van.
It was Charleston, which is like a big tourist trap. They filmed
there you go.
Paul Dark there, right? So it's a big old tourist. Yeah, they filmed Paul Dark there.
Paul Dark.
Paul Dark.
Paul Dark.
Paul Dark.
Paul Dark.
Paul Dark.
Do you see, Jim? Someone said your Scottish accent's very bad.
Yeah.
As in, you're not doing a good one. Did you see someone say that on the comments?
Who said that?
As if you just put it on.
Who the fuck said that?
It's one of the comments on one of the videos a couple of weeks ago.
That is.
They've taken you to think everything you do is an act.
Everyone thinks it's all a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Welsh actor Jim Shrinker.
I grew up in West Lothian, right? This is real, all right? Okay. But what was I talking about? No. Paul Dark. You know fucking Paul Dark.
I know what it is.
I don't know what you're saying.
Adrian Turner, his name is, took his shirt off a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. And
sure.
Adrian, I don't know.
Aiden, yeah. And so I went there, right? And they filmed Paul Dark there, and my wife loves like Georgian history, Jane Austen, and all that shit. So she was like, "We need to go to Charleston." So we went to Charleston, paid £40 for 2 plates of fish and
No,
chips.
you didn't pay. You didn't.
That's worth it.
40
Sometimes food is expensive. Just carrying on from your thing about they film stuff in that for Pole Dog. In my local town, they use the old Lidl building as a morgue for a TV show.
Which
Yeah.
one?
I don't know. Some cop show, British cop show. I've never watched it. It's probably on ITV. If
Happy
you're watching
Valley?
in America, you don't know what that is, but it's like the channel I refuse to watch because it's mostly shit.
I lived near a old airstrip where they filmed Star Wars films at the new ones.
Not sure that's as good as filming at a morgue in Lidl.
I think it's pretty good,
No,
right?
Star
like,
Wars is nothing.
When me and Tom worked in Croydon, a lot of Hollywood films were getting shot.
Batman was there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
They did
Batman.
Gary
In the
Oldman
sort
was
of-
in Croydon.
Yeah. Yeah. The general sort of urban decay of Croydon was used as the backdrop for a lot of stuff that was meant to be set in like horrible dystopian futures.
Sherif, what do you think of Paul Duck?
I am Googling it because I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
PAULDUCK.
It's not Paul
I
Duck.
got it.
Paul Duck.
It's not Mr. Dark. It's not Paul. I don't know. According to IMDb, so-and-so returns home after the American Revolutionary War and rebuilds his life with a new business venture, making new enemies and funding a new love
Yeah.
where he least expects. He was a redcoats. Interesting.
Yeah. He's a Cornish guy who gets well into tin mining and he marries his servant. And
Okay.
and they have wains, and half of them die because it's the past. And that's the entire show. The entire fucking show is like, oh, my baby's dead. It's fucking rubbish.
Sounds terrible.
I genuinely don't know a single person on this show.
I think it's
Yeah.
for the best.
Yeah.
It's got the guy from Being Human in it.
Yeah, the guy from Being Human, Aidan
He
Turner.
turned into like a vampire.
Yeah,
Was
he
he
was a vampire. And he lived with a werewolf and a ghost.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that?
No.
We're just shouting things at Sherif now. Sherif's like, I don't fucking care, man. I live on the beach. Like,
I don't know who any of these people are. It sounds like a fairly typical ITV show or whatever.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, like I say, my wife loves.
Outlander or whatever.
Yeah, my wife loves Georgian history.
Didn't the War of the Roses happen? Was that earlier?
That was before the fucking
Roses, that
Georgian
was before,
period,
dude.
Connor.
I don't
Bloody
fucking
hell.
know. Shut up.
Yeah, so I feel like it's like, yeah, basically it's like the ancient civilizations, then you get the Romans, then you get the Tudors, and then it's all shit after that until you get to the First World War.
Do you remember when Yu-Gi-Oh made a War of the Roses game?
No.
They made a War of the Roses based card, like RPG card game. It
Yeah.
was pretty good actually. Put it on the GameCube.
All right.
Good.
It's a top
Let's
tip from
move on.
Connor there. Right, let's move on. I've got to pick something now. So,
Yeah, please do.
people are getting too good at it now. People are actually saying good things every week. Because it used to be really easy back in the day. Because Tom would go off on one about fucking Football Manager, and he was playing his own game, his own little meta game. So it didn't matter whether or not Tom won. That wasn't what he was here for. And Connor's entire shtick would be to pick something a bit dirty, and then like pretend to be mad when he didn't win. And so it was very easy to just be like, well, Sherif's the only person who's actually thought about it, so Sherif's won. Right? If you remember back in the day, Sherif had a big, long, sort of 8-episode streak where he was just like, he won every time he was on. But now, Connor is actually putting some thought into it. Tom is actually trying to win as well. So, Sherif's got some competition, which makes my job a lot more difficult. But I have to say, I love the idea that the longest Metal Gear Solid game is the one that could have been an email, because it's like that. All that series is mostly like lore and people arguing about it, right?
There is a 90-minute cutscene.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
That's
98 full-length, feature-length
people say this, and I've often just assumed people are exaggerating. But is
Nope.
it genuinely like 90
It
minutes?
is genuinely 90 minutes.
So what do
of
people
cutscene.
do when they get to that point? Do they just
drop the controller?
like get some sandwiches in? Like,
Well, when you're playing it the first time, you don't know how long it's going to be, so you're almost like on the edge.
are you like?
But now that you do, you probably go off and do something
Jesus
else.
Christ, it's ridiculous. Okay, that's this whole time I thought people were just exaggerating.
Nope. I don't think you can exaggerate when you were describing a Kojima game. I think
That's
there's
true.
very little room
That's
because
true.
he takes care of all of that himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's like the death of satire thing, isn't it? It's like you can't
Yes.
you can't describe it in terms that are more absurd than the actual thing.
Yeah. Are
Tom,
you
what was-
saying an arm that someone attached to himself is mind controlling him?
Yeah.
Yes. That's just,
Yeah,
it's just a minor thing and that happens in Metal Gear.
Ocelot has
Okay.
Liquid's arm, and it's mind controlling him. It's
That's right.
great. It's best game series ever made.
Tom, what was your pick again?
Lake.
Lake, yeah. of course.
Also, Christmas Lake. There's another one, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's set at Christmas.
Yeah. Is that just DLC?
I don't know. So
it.
maybe.
I think Lake is a wonderful game, and I think your
No, that's why
summary
it
of
should
it
win.
is.
That's why it should win.
I think it's a
You
wonderful game.
a wonderful game.
And I disagree with your summary of it entirely. I don't think it's boring at all. I think it's.
But
I think
do.
that juxtaposition between doing boring, busy work and then having this really exciting sort of blossoming romance happening to a middle-aged character is that's where the magic of the game exists. That's where it is. I think.
I don't care about romance between middle-aged characters. Why would I care about that?
It's about it. It means no matter what age you are, you can still get those butterflies, Tom. Right? You know, it's a wonderful game. I think you're just too cynical for it. I'm not going to accept your summary of it. I really do apologize for this, Sherif, but I'm going to give it to Connor.
You cannot be serious. The Witcher. The fucking Witcher.
A lot of people are saying that Sherif's like turning into Connor recently.
Yeah.
It's-
Banter out.
You might have got
go
this
back.
wrong, actually. You might have got
swear
this
to
wrong
God.
because The Witcher, as Connor pointed out, is not a great game. It's not a great game.
It's got a great
Right?
story to it.
And we're talking about good games here.
yeah.
Sharif's pick is actually a good game. Like, it's not
The Witcher- The Witcher
but it is a
is-
decent game.
Right. Taking a step back, right? In
The
abstract,
Witcher 1 wasn't a good game, they wouldn't be remaking it.
exactly. In abstract, The Witcher is a good game, right? And
And that's how he's just eating. He just doesn't care. He's just having a snack.
I like
on
the style.
podcast now.
I like the cut of his jib. I like that confidence, right? So, The Witcher, if there wasn't like a kernel of something really good there, it would never have given rise to the world we inhabit now, where everyone outside Poland knows what The Witcher is, right? And that just wasn't the case before this game. This game changed everything, right? And changed RPGs ultimately, because every RPG after The Witcher 3 wanted to be The Witcher 3. And I think I think it is difficult to argue that it was a shit game, but I think the experience of playing it is fucking dire.
I saw it at
That swamp
Gamescom
bit is terrible.
prior to release. I
Yeah.
saw it at Gamescom, and I asked them,
Yeah,
could this game be summarized in an email? And they said no. They said it cannot
I don't
be
believe that's
summarized in an
true, Tom.
email.
I don't think.
I
that's
think they
true.
lied. I think they lied to you. I think they PR'd you, media trained you.
Yeah, could you
I think
summarize
I
the game
believe
in an
them.
email for me?
I believe them, and I think that should be held as a fact from the developers.
I don't think you're. I think you're
The
lying.
actual fact of the matter is I'm the winner.
But
And
it's
I
true
think,
that I think The Witcher is a great game that is best experienced as several paragraphs of plot summary, before you go and play The Witcher 2.
Right.
So yeah, Connor, I think that's a very worthy win. But you know, it was a very close run thing between you and Sherif. But
I am feeling quite nostalgic for the old days now, like you are. You kind of reminded me of how good they were. So, you know, next time
days of a year
I'm
ago.
on, I'll bring up something sketchy and off the
Yeah.
beaten path. Yeah.
yeah, that would be great.
Have we done the bit where we talk about subscribing yet?
No, we haven't. Tom, I'm now going to tell everyone my pick, but you only get to hear that if you're a paid subscriber, if you're what we call a bestie, Tom, and if you want to become a bestie, Tom, what is it you do?
Go to the website. So if you don't know, this podcast is actually from vg247.com.
Yeah.
You may not know that. You may just listen to us, but there's a website with all loads of stuff on it.
Yeah.
Connor, Sherif, you even, Jim, you write stuff for that website, and you can get lots of cool stuff on there. But if you go to the top right of that website and click on support us, or you might have to click the little button to make the menu pop up, then you can pay us £3 a month or $3 or £30 a year, and then you get this extra bit every week where you pick a game, Jim, and also on the website you get no ads. If that's a thing that helps convince you, so you get those two things. There might be some other things, I've forgotten what they are. But the main thing is the podcast, right? That is what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. And you get the extra bit, and it's quite good. Yeah,
it's a good laugh every week, isn't it? It was a good laugh last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because everyone rounded on. Well, Connor had a proper go at me last week for misunderstanding.
Did I?
The nature of Biden's character.
He was correct. I didn't have a go. I just kind of said that I thought you were wrong in a respectful way.
Yeah, but I'm trying to sell it as drama.
Something very scandalous happened after that, which we won't talk about.
Yeah,
you have to listen to it.
You can't sell these things by going, we had a pleasant conversation.
If you subscribe now, you go back and listen to the old ones, right? So you get
exactly.
weeks of extra content.
Weeks of extra bit, which probably amounts to several hours at this point. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, and please leave us a 5-star review in your podcast app of choice. It really helps us out. Or become a bestie, because that helps us out more than anything. And if you are not a paid subscriber, wait a minute. If you are a paid subscriber, this is what you're paying for.